Yo, what's good guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're reacting to why Europe doesn't build skyscrapers. Honestly bro, skyscrapers, I don't go to any. I barely see them because I'm not really in New York City or whatever. Nah, you don't see a bunch over here. So I would live without them because I don't need them. I don't see why or where, but I guess you could say more people can fit in, but I definitely don't like heights either. I'd rather be on floor 1 than floor 200 something. So I'm not really a fan of them in America either. So let's see why Europe doesn't build them, but they do look cool. I'll give them that. They do look beautiful. Just not beautiful, but they make a city look like a city. Like when somebody steps in, they're like, okay, this is New York City. This is, yeah. But yeah, if you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, let's watch. The
Why aren't there many
B1M.
skyscrapers in Europe? Despite being one of the most developed, densely populated, and economically prosperous continents, Europe has surprisingly few skyscrapers, particularly when compared to Asia and North America.
Oh, look at that.
Of the 218 skyscrapers constructed on the continent to date, 66% of them are located in just 5 cities.
Only
London,
218?
Paris, Frankfurt, Moscow, and Istanbul.
Oh, wow.
So why have other major European cities not embraced the skyscraper? How do they thrive without the significant inner urban space and floor areas that these clever structures provide?
It's really
And
not that
is everything
impactful,
about to
to be
change
honest. It's not
in our
that big.
increasingly urbanized world?
Yeah, because these guys are about to act like skyscrapers are like
When
a
skyscrapers
life-changer.
first rose to prominence in the 19th century, first in Chicago and later in New York, many European cities were already firmly established, with grand historic buildings and public spaces that left little room for large new structures. Most of Europe's cities around that time were also more evenly zoned, and were not facing the high demand for floor space in key districts that typically drives high-rise development. Additionally, as the power and influence of North America began to grow,
Look
a
how
cultural
advanced this
rivalry
looks.
emerged between Americans who saw Europe's class system as outdated, and Europeans who saw some American ideals as eroding traditions and the European way of life. As a result, each continent became wary of adopting the other's concepts. While North America aims to become the model for a new age, Europe sought to preserve its heritage.
I mean, you can only preserve like there's a limit to how should I say far? How long it can be preserved, because bro, the future is inevitable. Soon enough, for I don't even know, maybe royal families will exist in 100 years. I don't know. We'll probably not exist in 100 years, but I mean, I could make it to 100. Like, yeah, 100 years from now, there's a like, I'd say 10% chance I'm alive, like 10%, something like that. Who knows? But I'd be like a little like grandpa, bones I just can't see. It'd be stuff like that. But I would see 100 years from now. Well, based on how old I am right now, but I don't know if royal families would still exist for now, but you know, UK doesn't seem like it's gonna give up that. So most of these traditions, but they'll definitely build more skyscrapers because the world has to advance. You have to look, you know, unless you live in the Amazon River, you're not going to not want to build a skyscraper because those guys just love nature. They're like animals too, but here UK, more population is gonna grow. You know, this is something I don't really understand. The New York has this modernized look. These skyscrapers, they all look advanced. And then the UK has all these small places and all that, and they wonder why these guys are like, yo, you guys are not advanced. Like, it looks, you know, I like preserving culture. I like preserving history, but it can only be preserved so much. It's like museums. Some of the I don't know, but it's better to see something physically. It's kind of hard to say this. It's kind of hard to do this. I want to build skyscrapers, yet, but then I still want all these houses from the 1900s, all these paintings of the Queen, all these castles from 1800s, 1700s. I still want them, but I want the modern look too. So I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's pretty hard, but we'll see.
Explains why skyscraper construction didn't initially catch on in Europe. It doesn't explain what has held the continent back since.
Post-war rebuild.
In the wake
Man,
of the
with
Second
this
World
war,
War, many thought European cities would modernize and replicate the skyscrapers that were rising across North America. However, in Western Europe, where many cities lost landmark and historic structures, an overwhelming desire to restore what had been destroyed took hold. In addition, the lower population of Europe at that time meant that the demand for floor area that principally drives skyscraper construction wasn't there. As a result, modest structures replaced buildings that could not be saved or restored. Meanwhile, in Eastern Europe, the expanding Soviet Union's rebuild efforts consisted largely of mid-rise repetitive structures that sought to rehouse
those look
much
so
of the population.
ugly.
It was during this time that
Oh,
Europe saw
oh, that was Kiev. That's the Ukraine. Yo, it's kind of crazy. War is so crazy. That place is like so destroyed now. Just like it just takes one simple war to have all these buildings come down. Ah, war is crazy. I don't like.
skyscrapers begin to
But people
rise,
profit from it.
not in
A
response
lot
to
of
growth and
big
prosperity,
guys
but in an
controlling
effort
the
by the
wars
Soviets
make
to
money.
indicate their power and influence.
Brusselization.
While Brussels has never constructed a true skyscraper, it is partly responsible for the lack of skyscrapers across the continent.
Really?
Without any significant zoning regulations in place, the 1960s saw many buildings in the city demolished to make way for large, modern structures that had little regard for architectural or cultural value. Recognizing the damage this
Cultural
indiscriminate
value.
redevelopment was doing to the city, many prominent figures and architects coined the term Brusselization and lobbied to introduce new planning laws.
Yo, do you guys even think like these modern, just like this new generation of kids care about culture like that? They probably don't even care. They're like, bro, just build us a skyscraper. We don't care about what took place in the 1600s. We blah 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 blah. There's kids, they probably. I mean, for the most part, really, I don't even know how much I care about stuff like that myself. But people who know the true value of that culture, they probably want that. I can't speak for everybody, but sometimes I have mixed opinions about keeping culture and not trying to advance. I won't really say how I feel about it for now.
These regulations significantly limited the scale of new buildings and required historic facades to be restored and incorporated into new developments, preserving the cultural fabric of the city. The row in Brussels led to a general dislike for modern buildings across Europe, with many seeing them as bland or soulless. In response, numerous
Are you
cities
supposed to
adopted
see a
similar
soul
regulations
in a
and set
house?
aside controlled districts like Paris's La Défense to keep high-rise development away from historic centres.
Ooh, urban age, that looks beautiful.
By the
Okay.
start of the 21st century, attitudes around tall buildings were softening across the continent, as architectural trends moved away from box-like structures towards more unique designs, and as the world became increasingly globalized.
Ooh,
Since
but
the
that
early
was-
2000s,
Ooh.
major financial centres like
Hey,
London, Paris,
London has them.
Moscow, Istanbul and Frankfurt have seen several skyscrapers rise, as demand for commercial space in their centres has increased. By
The way they
contrast,
build these
smaller
things too is
European
kinda
cities
scary.
that have been experiencing more modest growth have turned their focus to the environment and improving living standards for citizens.
What the?
In recent years, urban areas in Scandinavia and Central Europe have consistently ranked among the highest in the world for sustainability, happiness and well-being, while maintaining importance within their national economies.
Wait, but but happiness doesn't have to do with skyscrapers or not. Yeah, Finland was the happiest country in the world, then Denmark, then all these, Norway, all those countries, but it's not about the skyscrapers or buildings they have. I don't know why you brought that up, or did I miss something?
However, skyscraper construction in the cities of today is no longer driven purely by economic growth or the need for commercial office space. With 60% of the global human population set to be living in urban areas by 2050,
Yo, is this New York?
residential skyscrapers are now rising in prominence, particularly across Asia and North America.
Oh yeah, look how many
As many
people Asia
traditional
has.
rural-based industries become automated, millions are migrating into cities and major urban areas, driving significant demand.
Yeah, bro, look
for
at
residential
China.
space
it's like
that is
a
often
billion
met with
people. How are you
high-rise
going to keep
structures.
them?
Europe is not immune to this phenomenon, particularly in such a heavily globalized world, and with the continent's desire to keep up with the progress and economic growth of China and the US. As such, Europe could witness a skyscraper boom in the decades ahead.
Definitely, that's not even a question. It has
However,
to.
with entire urban centres now being declared historically significant, and with the desire to retain as much culture and architecture as possible rightly holding strong up to the present day, the unique challenge facing future skyscraper construction in Europe is all to do with the past.
Not a bad video. I like this one.
If you enjoyed this video and would like to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, subscribe to the B1M.
Okay, B1M. Okay, skyscrapers, not bad. Would I live in a skyscraper? Probably, but places like China definitely need skyscrapers, bro. I don't care how you feel about them. Because a billion people, you're not gonna build a billion little houses, you're gonna run out of space. And no wonder China's just filled with huge buildings. It gets scary at some point. Like you saw in the news, like little flies and then huge buildings. I don't know. Earth will have to use some sort of knowledge, really, to get bigger in a way, because look at this. Look at it this way. We're not gonna have, hopefully we don't have some sort of like other pandemic that just wipes out half the world. We're not gonna have that. Hopefully we don't have that. And if that's the case, we keep growing exponentially. We're gonna reach more than like 20 billion people soon, more than the earth can handle. And you're gonna need a bunch of huge skyscrapers to fit them in. And I don't care how much you care about culture, you're gonna be like, okay, let me use some logic. George Washington, in whatever age he's from, does not care about how I look at his structure now. As long as it's in the history books, that's history, that's culture right there. But yeah, you guys tell me what you thought. If you made it this far, thank you and have a nice day.